AITA for using my job skills to expose my wife's affair hidden on a maintenance app? My name is Jonah. I am 34, and up until 3 months ago, I thought the most dramatic thing in my life was arguing with my wife about whether the dishwasher needed to be pre-rinsed. I work as an insurance claims adjuster. It sounds boring until you realize half my job is noticing when people tell a story that almost makes sense, but not quite. My wife, Mira, and I had been married for 6 years and were sharing a 2-bedroom apartment in Denver, Colorado. It was in one of those mid-rise buildings that tries to feel upscale by putting gray laminate floors everywhere and calling the mailroom a package lounge. Our place always smelled faintly like coffee, laundry detergent, and the basil plant she kept forgetting to water on the balcony. We had a narrow galley kitchen, a small office that was mostly mine, 1 bedroom, a shoe rack by the door, and a whiteboard calendar where I wrote down bills because I was apparently born 48 years old. I was the person who paid rent on the first, bought paper towels before we ran out, and believed that if someone said, "I am fine," they were at least trying to be. Mira was 33, worked in marketing for a boutique fitness chain, and had the kind of calm face that made people think she was reasonable even when she was saying something sharp. She had always been private, but there is a difference between being private and turning your phone over when your husband walks into the room like the screen might jump at him. At first, I told myself we were just tired. We were both working a lot. Denver rent had gone up again. Her company had opened 2 new locations, and she was constantly at late events, trainer launches, brand meetings, and influencer things I understood only enough to nod at. I had claims calls all day with people telling me hail damage happened before the policy lapse, or that a cracked windshield was definitely from last week, not 6 months ago. Marriage can get quiet without being over. That was what I believed. Then Mira started talking about the lease renewal like it was a high-stakes negotiation. "We should look at options," she said one night while we were eating leftover pasta at the kitchen counter. I looked up from my bowl. Options like what? Moving? Maybe. Or maybe changing how things are set up. How are things set up? She pushed a piece of pasta around with her fork. I just do not want to feel trapped. That word sat between us. Trapped. I said, by the apartment? By everything, Jonah. I wanted to ask what everything meant, but she had already picked up her phone. A second later, her face softened at something on the screen. It was not a big smile. It was just a small one. It was the kind of smile you do not give a work email. After that, she started using phrases I knew did not come from her. Emotional safety. Space to regulate. Your energy feels intense. She said these things while I was rinsing a mug or asking whether we needed more coffee filters. I was not blind. I just thought we were tired. The first time I realized she was telling a different version of our marriage to other people was at a taco place off Colfax with 2 couples we used to meet for trivia. It was loud, bright, and smelled like fried tortillas and lime. Mira sat beside me in a cream sweater I had always liked, touching her phone under the table every few minutes. I could feel the little movements of her elbow. One of our friends, Becca, asked if we were still thinking about renewing the lease. Before I could answer, Mira laughed lightly and said, "We will see. Jonah has been kind of a lot lately, but we are working through it." It was said like a joke. Everyone gave the soft little chuckle people make when they do not know whether they are supposed to laugh. I looked at Mira. "What does that mean?" I asked. She patted my arm. "See? Intense." I paid the check because I always paid first and let people Venmo me later. On the drive home, I asked, "Why would you say that?" She stared out the passenger window at the blurry lights along Spear. "Because it is true." "What did I do?" "You interrogate me." I asked what you meant. "You always need a case file." That one landed because it was close enough to something real. I do like facts. I like dates. I like knowing what conversation we are actually having. It is not romantic, but it has kept me employed. So I let it go? That was one of my mistakes. I kept letting small things go because each one seemed too petty to become a fight over. A phone turned over. A dinner comment. A sudden passcode change. A work event with no pictures, even though her job seemed to require photographing every protein smoothie in the state. The dishwasher started leaking on a Tuesday. I came home from a half day in the office to find a towel shoved under the kitchen cabinets and a thin puddle creeping across the floor. Mira was standing by the sink, texting. "Did you put in a maintenance request?" I asked. "Already did." "Okay. What did they say?" "They will come when they come." I grabbed another towel and knelt down. Water was collecting slowly. It was not catastrophic, but it was enough to warp the cheap flooring if we ignored it. Our building used a tenant app for everything like rent payments, package notifications, guest parking, maintenance requests, and announcements about fire alarm testing that no one read until the alarm went off. Usually, I handled it, but Mira had submitted requests before. I opened the app on my phone. Both of our names were on the lease, and both of us had access. There was the new dishwasher request, marked submitted. I tapped it, expecting something like leak under unit. The note said, light flickers again after 9. Same corner. Bring blue tape. My first thought was not about an inappropriate relationship. It was a genuine question about why a dishwasher leak needed blue tape after 9. I stared at it long enough for Mira to notice. What? She asked. What did you write in the maintenance request? Dishwasher leak. I turned the screen toward her. Then what is this? She barely looked. They always write weird stuff in there. That is not from them. It is in the tenant notes. Her cheeks changed color, just a little. Maybe the app glitched. Maybe. I said it calmly because that is what I do when something does not fit. I do not pounce. I put a mental pin in it. That night, after Mira went to bed and turned away from me, so cleanly it felt choreographed, I sat in the office and logged into the tenant portal on my laptop. The dashboard showed our rent auto-pay confirmation, 2 package locker codes, an announcement about garage pressure washing, and the dishwasher request. Then I clicked history. There were old requests I recognized. A loose cabinet hinge. A slow bathroom drain. A garbage disposal jammed because Mira thought lemon rinds counted as maintenance. Most were normal, but some had notes tucked into them that made no sense. No rush. He is home Thursday. Use side door if needed. Window sticks again. Same corner. After gym. Light out above sink. Not tonight. He did not leave. Blue tape was mentioned twice. Corner came up 4 times. After 9, showed up enough that my stomach tightened. 1 weird note is a typo. 6 weird notes is a system. The next morning, I brought it up while making coffee. Mira, there are strange notes in the maintenance history. She opened the fridge and stood there too long. Why are you digging through old maintenance requests? Because one of them said I would be home Thursday. She closed the fridge without taking anything out. You are being paranoid. I'm asking about the apartment app. No, you are monitoring me. That was the first time she used that word. Monitoring. Not asking. Not checking. Monitoring. I poured coffee into a mug and kept my voice level. I am not monitoring you. I am trying to understand why our dishwasher request reads like someone arranging a meeting. She looked right at me then. Her expression did not crack, but it hardened. I do not feel emotionally comfortable when you interrogate me like this. There it was again. Emotional safety, used like a distraction tactic. I said, I am going to work. Maybe you should stay with Tessa for a few days, she said. I stopped with my hand on my laptop bag. What? Your sister has space. We could both use room to breathe. We have not even had an argument. You are proving my point right now. That sentence was too polished. It was too ready. I had heard people rehearse lies badly and tell truths awkwardly. This sounded like neither. It sounded like a line waiting for a camera. I am not leaving a home I pay for because you suddenly discovered therapy vocabulary, I said. She flinched or pretended to. Wow. I will be back after work. I spent that day looking at claim photos of a flooded basement while thinking about my own kitchen floor. At lunch, I called my sister from my car. Tessa is 36, divorced, and has the kind of voice that can make you sit up straighter through Bluetooth. She works as a nurse manager and has no patience for decorative language. When I told her about the notes, the apartment, and Mira asking me to leave, she did not make the sympathetic noises people make when they want gossip. She said, do not leave that apartment. I was not planning to. No, Jonah. Hear me. Do not sleep at my place. Do not take a weekend to cool off. Do not hand her the apartment and then try to prove later that you did not abandon it. I know. You do not know. You want to be reasonable when someone is setting the frame. That is how you get run over politely. I rubbed my forehead. You think that is what she is doing? I think someone who feels genuinely uncomfortable usually calls someone. She does not usually suggest the person she is bothered by leaves without paperwork, while both names are still on a lease. That made the air in the car feel colder. What do? I asked. You document. You talk by text. You do not raise your voice. You do not make ultimatums. You call a lawyer before she calls one for the story she is writing. I do not even know if there is a story. Tess aside, there is always a story. The question is whether you let her write yours. That night, Mira ordered takeout tacos and acted almost normal. She asked if I wanted the green salsa. She complained about a coworker named Britt who kept using brand alignment wrong. She sat on the couch with her legs tucked under her while our apartment was lit warm and harmless around us. That was the part that confused me. Nothing looked like a serious breach of trust. The dishwasher hummed badly, but not dramatically. Her sneakers were by the door. My jacket was on the chair she hated. The basil plant on the balcony was half dead and leaning like it wanted to escape. We looked like any tired married couple deciding what to watch. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down, and her face changed again. I did not ask. The next piece came 2 days later in the parking garage. Our building had a shared garage under the apartments. It was all concrete pillars, bike racks, and fluorescent lights that made everyone look guilty. I came home early because a client canceled. As I pulled into my space, I saw Mira near the elevator with Adrian. I knew Adrian because he worked in the leasing office. He was the assistant property manager, maybe 35, always in a fitted building polo, and always smiling like he had just approved your pet application personally. He had helped us once when our package locker jammed. Mira had described him as actually competent, which in our building was high praise. He was holding a small cardboard box. Mira had one hand on it like they had both reached for it at the same time and forgotten to let go. I got out of my car. Hey, I said. Mira turned fast. Adrian did not. He smiled. Jonah, right? He said, as if he had not seen my name on 6 years of tenant records. Yeah, everything okay. Just building paperwork, Adrian said. The box shifted in his hands. Inside, on top of some folders, I saw one of Myra's scarves. It was dark green with a frayed edge. Beneath it was a bottle of wine. I recognized that too because I had bought it for our anniversary, and Mira had said it was too nice to waste on a weeknight. Mira stepped in front of the box by half an inch. Adrian was helping me with something for the lease. The lease paperwork includes a bottle of wine now. I asked. Adrian gave a soft laugh. Resident events get weird. He smiled like a guy who thought the building cameras were on his side. Upstairs, Mira immediately went to the bedroom and closed the door. I stood in the kitchen for a full minute with my keys in my hand. My chest felt hot, but my head felt very clear. I opened my credit card app. I do not know why that came next, except that claims work trains you to follow the money before following the emotion. There it was from the week before. It was a charge at a boutique hotel lounge downtown at 10:42 p.m. Mira had my card as an authorized user for shared expenses. That night, she had texted me, client thing running late. Do not wait up. Love you. I stared at the charge for 10 minutes. I did not stare because I did not understand it, but because I did. I wanted to walk into the bedroom and throw the phone on the bed. I wanted to ask her how foolish she thought I was. I wanted the satisfaction of watching her face try to arrange itself around the lie. Instead, I took screenshots. I saved the charge, the text, the maintenance notes, and the tenant portal history. I saved the rent autopay confirmations showing my payments from our joint account, and then from mine after she had started forgetting to transfer her half on time. I created a folder on my laptop with dates in the file names because future me deserved better than screenshot final 2. I wanted a confession. What I needed was a record. The next morning, I emailed Patrice, the building manager. Patrice was in her 50s. She had sharp glasses, a sharper blazer, and a voice that could turn, "We will look into it," into a locked door. I had seen her handle a man complaining loudly about a towed car without blinking. My email was boring on purpose. Hi, Patrice. I am updating our renter's insurance records and would like a copy of our tenant ledger and full maintenance history for Unit 517, including service request notes and status changes. Could you please send what is available for both leaseholders? Thanks, Jonah. Boring emails get answered. She sent the tenant ledger the same afternoon. It showed payments, fees, package locker charges from when Mira lost a key fob in our lease term. Then came a PDF of the maintenance history. The PDF was clean. It was too clean. The dishwasher request said, leak under unit. The strange blue tape note was gone. The cabinet request had no mention of he is home Thursday. Several requests had edited timestamps that did not match the notification times in my email inbox. In the claims world, That kind of thing makes the back of your neck itch. I replied, Patrice, thanks. Could you please confirm whether the attached maintenance history includes tenant-facing notes only or all internal edit logs? I am seeing discrepancies between prior portal notifications and the PDF export. She did not answer for 3 hours. Then she replied, Jonah, the document includes standard resident-facing history. Internal operational notes are not typically released. Please let me know if this relates to an active dispute or insurance claim. I read that twice. Active dispute. She had chosen those words carefully. I wrote back, please preserve all records, notes, and edit logs related to Unit 517 maintenance requests and tenant communications. I am not requesting the release of restricted information at this time, only preservation. Please confirm. Then I called Tessa again. Lawyer, she said before I finished. I know. Not tomorrow. Now. That was how I met Linda Shaw, a family attorney, in an office that smelled like bad coffee and expensive paper. She was in her late 40s, direct, and did not perform sympathy. She listened while I talked, flipping through printed screenshots with a yellow legal pad beside her. When I finished, she tapped her pen once. Your feelings are valid, she said. They are also not a legal strategy. I am aware. Good. Do not make threats. Do not bluff. Do not announce what you know just to see her react. I was not planning to. She gave me a look over her glasses that said I was absolutely the kind of man who might plan to under the right amount of pain. I mean it, she said. You do not need to prove she is a bad person today. You need to prevent her from making you look like one tomorrow. She asked me to leave. Do not leave, unless there is a written agreement. You are on the lease. Both of us are. Then both of you have obligations. If she wants the unit, she either qualifies a loan and releases you properly, or you terminate according to the contract and settle fees in writing. Nothing verbal. I rubbed my hands on my jeans. What if she claims she feels uncomfortable living with me? Then you behave in a way that is boring to read later. Text. Email. Keep a steady tone. If conversations happen, make notes afterward with dates and times. Photograph the apartment condition regularly. Keep receipts. Separate finances. Sleep separately if you need to. But do not abandon the residence. She slid a blank folder across the desk toward me. A clean exit is not weak, she said. It is enforceable. So I became boring. I stopped arguing in the kitchen. If Mira said, we need to talk, I said, text me what you want to discuss. If she said, that is cold, I said, it is clear. When she asked again if I could stay with Tessa, just until things calmed down, I texted her from the same room. Mira, I am willing to discuss lease termination in writing. I will not move out without a written agreement regarding rent, fees, and property condition. She stared at her phone, then at me across the couch. Seriously? Yes. You are acting like I am suing you. I am acting like we share a lease. That night, I moved into the office. I bought a cheap air mattress from Target, the kind that squeaked if you breathed too hard, and put it beside my desk under the window. My work monitors glowed blue in the dark. I used a folded hoodie as extra pillow support because I refused to make a second trip. Mira stood in the doorway in sleep shorts and one of my old college t-shirts. This is ridiculous, she said. I agree. Then come to bed. No. Her mouth tightened. You are punishing me. I am creating space. I thought we liked that word. She walked away. Every morning and night, I photographed the apartment. I documented the walls, the floors, the appliances, the doors, and the balcony. I even took pictures of the dead basil plant because by then, even the basil felt like a witness. I saved rent receipts, grocery receipts, screenshots of comm texts, and call logs. After conversations, I recorded audio notes to myself only. I never secretly recorded her, just a time-stamped summary. March 14th, 8:35 p.m., Mira again asked me to leave without a written agreement. No raised voices. Dishwasher still leaking slightly, towel replaced. It felt absurd until the family text started. Myra's cousin messaged me first. Hey, just checking in. Mira said things have been tense, and she is very overwhelmed. Hope you are giving her space. Then a friend from trivia reached out. Man, whatever is going on, maybe stay with your sister a few nights? Sounds like Mira is really having a hard time. Then came my mother, who lives in Colorado Springs and treats worry like a competitive sport. Jonah, call me. Mira said you are not yourself. Vague implications travel faster than facts. I wanted to send everyone screenshots. I wanted to write a 12-paragraph defense with dates, charges, and blue tape. Instead, I called my mother and said, "I am fine. Mira is fine. I am getting legal advice, and I am not discussing details by text." "Legal advice?" she said, immediately louder. "Yes." "What happened?" "I will tell you when I can." "Did you make her feel uncomfortable?" I closed my eyes. "No." There was a pause. "Your father used to say no in that exact tone when he was trying not to get upset. I am trying not to be turned into someone who gets upset." That got through just a little. At home, Mira got smoother and colder. She left dinner for herself in the fridge, but not for me. She took calls on the balcony even when it was freezing. She started saying things like, "I am documenting too," loud enough for me to hear from the office. One night, I came home to find a cabinet door hanging loose in the kitchen. It was the same cabinet I had fixed 2 months earlier. "What happened?" I asked. Mira stood by the stove with her arms crossed. "I do not know. It was like that. It was not like that this morning." "Are you accusing me of breaking a cabinet?" "No. I am saying it was not like that this morning." She lifted her chin. "You have been slamming things." I looked at the cabinet. Then I looked at her. "I have not." "You do not notice when you are angry." My phone was in my hand. I opened the camera and took a picture of the cabinet with the timestamp visible. She laughed once. "Wow, this is who you are now." "No," I said. "This is who I have to be right now." 2 days later, Patrice accidentally sent me the wrong email. The subject line was Unit 517, Tenant Dispute Exposure / Maintenance Edits. I was copied, probably because she had been forwarding my preservation request to someone in corporate, and her email provider had betrayed her. The thread was short, but it was enough. Patrice wrote, "We need to review Adrian's edits on resident-facing notes versus internal logs. Tenant Jonah has requested clarification and preservation. Please advise whether corporate counsel should be looped before any further communication." Someone named Ken from the regional office replied, "Do not allow Adrian to access this file again until we determine the scope. If edits were made after tenant dispute reports, HR needs to review." My hands actually went cold. It was not because of Mira crossing professional boundaries. It was because they were building paperwork around it. Adrian was not just some guy helping her carry a gift box in the garage. Adrian had access. Adrian had been editing notes. Adrian was in the system Mira had been using to make strange little coded messages disappear. I forwarded the email to Linda without adding anything. She replied 12 minutes later. "Do not respond to Patrice yet. Save the original with headers. I will draft a response." Then I sat on the air mattress and laughed once. It was not because it was funny, but because my body needed somewhere to put the pressure. Mira knocked on the office door. "Are you okay?" she asked. The concern sounded almost real. That was the most difficult part. "Just a work thing," I said. She looked at me for a second too long. "You have been acting strange." "I have been sleeping next to a printer on an air mattress." "You chose that." "Sure." She lingered. "Jonah, I do not want this to get ugly." I looked at her then. I really looked. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun. She had a blemish near her chin she had tried to cover with makeup. She looked tired. Not malicious. Not dramatic. She just looked tired, selfish, and worried, which somehow felt more complicated because it meant she could still convince herself she was doing what she had to do. "I wanted to believe you were just unhappy," I said. "Not organized." Her face went blank. "What does that mean?" "It means I am going to sleep." She closed the door softly. The staged confrontation happened the next night after dinner. Mira made chicken and rice, which she had not done in weeks. The plate sat on the table mostly untouched. I ate enough to avoid making a point. She barely touched hers. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, angled outward against a candle she never lit. The camera lens faced the table. I saw it as soon as I walked in. Whether I was a claims adjuster, a husband, or a fool, I knew staging when I saw it. She took a breath. "Can we talk like adults?" "Sure. Are you willing to admit you have created a hostile environment for me?" There it was. Loaded, polished, and ready. "No." Her eyes flicked toward the phone. "Jonah." I said no. "You have been snooping on me. Taking pictures. Building some case against me. I am documenting the condition of a shared apartment and communicating and writing about a shared lease. Do you hear yourself? This is exactly what I mean. You are obsessed with making me look like the bad guy. I folded my napkin slowly because my hands wanted to shake, and I refused to give them the satisfaction. I am not having a conversation with your phone on the counter. Her face changed. It was just a flash. What? I am not performing for your phone. You are paranoid. Then move it. She did not move it. Instead, her voice got louder. I need you to leave tonight. No. I do not feel comfortable here. Then you can call whoever you need to call. I will not stop you. I will not touch you. I will not raise my voice. But I am not leaving without a written agreement. You are backing me into a corner. I am sitting at my dining table. You are proving my point right now. I stood up slowly with my hands visible, like I was dealing with a skittish animal or a difficult witness. I will be right back. Where are you going? To get something. From the office, I brought the packet. Linda had told me not to reveal everything unless Mira forced a direct confrontation that could affect my housing or legal standing. This qualified. The packet was not theatrical. There was no red string and no dramatic binder. It was just printed pages clipped together. I set it on the table between us. Mira stared at it. What is that? Rent payment records. Screenshots of the coded maintenance notes. The hotel lounge charge from the night of your client event. Photos of the apartment before and after damage claims. My preservation request. And an email thread from management referencing Adrian's edits. She went pale. She was not angry at first, just silent. It was a real kind of silent, not the usual marriage kind. Then she reached for the packet. I put my hand on top of it. No. Jonah. There are copies with my attorney. Her eyes filled with tears fast, too fast for me to trust them. You do not understand. I understand enough. You have been tracking me. I used records I have legal access to. I checked finances with my name on them. I requested records for a lease I am on. You are trying to ruin my life. I almost laughed, but there was no humor left in me. Mira, you tried to make me leave my home so you could call it abandonment. You told people I made you uncomfortable. You used our apartment portal to coordinate with the guy helping you alter records. That is not what happened. Then write down what happened and send it to Linda. Linda, my attorney. Her mouth opened slightly. I said, all lease and separation issues go through email or attorneys now. I am sleeping in the office. If you need space, you can leave. I will not prevent you. But this conversation is over. The phone on the counter kept recording, if it was recording. I hoped it was. For once, Mira had staged something useful. The next morning, I went to the leasing office. The office had glass walls, fake plants, a coffee machine that produced brown sadness, and a bowl of dog treats even though no dogs were present. Patrice sat at the conference table with a laptop open. Adrian was there too, leaning back in his chair with that easy little building polo confidence. He looked surprised to hear Linda's voice coming through my phone on speaker. Patrice began in a careful tone. Thank you for coming in, Jonah. Linda, as stated, this meeting is to discuss records preservation and lease options. This is not a forum for personal allegations. Understood, Linda said. We are here regarding records integrity and my client's lease obligations. Adrian folded his hands. I think there has been a misunderstanding about how the portal works. Nobody had asked him anything. Patrice looked at him. Adrian, please let me lead. He smiled. Of course. Linda said, we have tenant-facing screenshots showing notes that do not appear in the exported history. We also have an internal email referencing Adrian's edits. We are requesting confirmation that all internal logs, including employee login activity, will be preserved. Patrice's face did not move, but Adrian's did. That is just internal maintenance shorthand, he said. I looked at him. Blue tape after 9 is maintenance shorthand? His smile thinned. I cannot discuss tenant records outside policy. Patrice turned slightly toward him. Adrian, before you answer anything else, I need you to understand this is now an HR and legal matter. The room became very still. He sat up. Patrice, I did not. I need everyone to pause, she said. Her voice had changed. It was no longer leasing office polite. It was corporate liability calm. Adrian, do not access this file again. Please step out. His ears went red. Are you serious? Yes. He stood, pushed the chair in too hard, and walked out through the glass door. Through the wall, I saw him stop at his desk and pick up his phone. Patrice closed her laptop halfway. Mr. Jonah, she said, a title she had never called me before. I cannot discuss employee matters. I can confirm that your preservation request has been received and escalated to corporate counsel. I can also confirm that any lease changes will require written agreement by all parties or compliance with the lease termination provisions. Linda said, "We will need that in writing. You will have it today." Patrice glanced at me, and for a second I saw something behind the professional mask. It was not sympathy exactly. It was more like regret that the building's shiny app had become a weapon. "This is no longer a routine tenant dispute," she said. That was the first sentence anyone official said that made me feel less crazy. The next 2 weeks were not cinematic. They were filled with emails, PDFs, phone calls, and the strange misery of living with someone after both of you know the truth is out. Mira stopped pretending to cook. She stayed out late, then stopped staying out late after Adrian was suspended. She cried on the balcony. She snapped at me for leaving coffee grounds in the trash. She sent one long message at 1:12 a.m. that said I was manipulating the situation, then another at 1:19 a.m. asking if I would consider mediation without lawyers. I forwarded both to Linda. Adrian was fired. I did not hear it from the building. I heard it from a neighbor named Rick, who knew everyone's business because his bulldog refused to use the stairs, and he spent half his life by the elevator. "Guess that assistant manager guy is gone," Rick said one morning while holding a leash attached to a dog built like a footstool. "Oh, yeah. Saw him carrying a box. He looked very upset. Anyway, have a good one." The official confirmation came later through Linda, wrapped in careful language. The management company would not support any claim based on altered or incomplete maintenance records. They would provide a neutral confirmation of lease history, payment ledger, and final unit condition after inspection. They would not release HR details, but they acknowledged administrative irregularities had been addressed. Administrative irregularities. That was a corporate phrase for having an inappropriate relationship with a resident and helping her build a misleading paper trail. Mira could not qualify for the apartment alone. That surprised me more than it should have. She had been so confident about keeping it that I assumed she had a plan. Her plan, apparently, had been me leaving, continuing to pay under pressure, and everyone believing I was too unstable to question it. When that fell apart, she got defensive. "You are really going to make me move?" she asked one night from the kitchen doorway. I was on the office floor sorting moving boxes. "I am not making you do anything. The lease requires income verification. You know what I mean. I know what you meant when you told people I made you uncomfortable." She crossed her arms. I was overwhelmed. "By what?" She looked away. "By what, Mira?" "By feeling stuck." That was the closest she came to honesty. I sat back on my heels. "Feeling stuck does not give you the right to make me look like the bad guy. I did not do that." "You tried." Her eyes hardened. "You always need to be the calm one. It is exhausting." "No," I said. What is exhausting is having to be calm because someone is waiting for you to lose control. The lease negotiation ended with a written agreement that was so dry it felt beautiful. We would terminate the lease early under the contract. Legitimate fees would be split according to an agreed percentage based on documented payments. Mira would reimburse me for certain charges she had tried to push onto me, including a portion of late transfer gaps and the replacement fee for the cabinet damage she eventually stopped denying in writing. Neither of us would make claims to management about property damage or liability without supporting documentation. The final move-out inspection would be completed with both parties given access to photos and the checklist. Mira wanted a dramatic exit. She got a spreadsheet. The divorce process took longer, of course. Divorce is not one door slamming. It is a series of forms that ask cold questions about difficult situations. But Myra's credibility had a hole in it from the beginning. Her early claims about my behavior did not match texts, apartment photos, rent records, or the management timeline. Linda never called her malicious. She did not need to. She used words like inconsistent, unsupported, and problematic reliance on altered records. I learned to appreciate boring words. They do damage quietly and legally. Friends started figuring things out in pieces. Becca from Trivia texted me, "Hey, I owe you an apology. I did not know what was going on. I am sorry I assumed." I stared at that message for a while before answering. "Thanks. I appreciate it." My mother cried when I finally told her more. Tessa said, "I told you," but softly, which for her was basically a hug. I did not correct everyone. I just stopped protecting Myra's version. The final apartment walkthrough happened on a cold, bright morning when the mountains looked fake in the distance. The apartment was empty except for dust, nail holes, and the dead basil plant on the balcony. I had thought about throwing it away, but for some reason, I left it until the end. Patrice walked through with a tablet and a checklist. She checked the walls, the appliances, the floors, the windows, the keys, the garage pass, and the mailbox fobs. She took photos. I took photos. Mira arrived 15 minutes late wearing sunglasses indoors and said almost nothing. The rooms looked smaller without our excuses in them. In the bedroom, I remembered the years before all this when Mira and I used to fold laundry badly and throw socks at each other. In the kitchen, I remembered her dancing while waiting for toast. In the office, I remembered the air mattress and the printer light blinking over me like a tiny, miserable moon. People think broken trust erases the good memories. It does not. It makes them harder to carry because now they have sharp edges. Patrice handed us the final form. Unit condition is documented as acceptable pending standard cleaning, she said. No tenant-caused damages beyond ordinary were noted, except the cabinet repair already addressed in the settlement. Linda had told me I did not need to speak unless necessary. I signed. Mira signed. Patrice signed. I put my keys in a small envelope and wrote Unit 517 on the front. Mira watched me seal it. Was it worth it? She asked. I looked at her. Her sunglasses hid her eyes, but her mouth was trembling. Leaving clean. I said, yes. That is not what I meant. I know. I gave the envelope to Patrice and walked out. My new place was across town. It was smaller, older, and not trying to be anything fancy. There was no package lounge. There were no resident social events. There was no tenant portal full of coded nonsense. The elevator made a worrying sound between the second and third floors. The kitchen had yellowish light and cabinets that stuck if you pulled too fast. My balcony faced an alley and a brick wall, and I liked it immediately because nobody had ever lied to me there. The first night, my couch had not arrived. My bed frame was still in pieces against the wall. I ate grocery store sushi on the floor with soy sauce packets lined up on a moving box. My TV was not mounted, the internet was not working, and I had one fork. The silence was strange at first. It was not peaceful exactly. It was just honest. There was no phone buzzing on the couch beside me. There were no rehearsed phrases floating in from the kitchen. There was no feeling that every normal object in the room might later become evidence against me. I checked my email once before bed. There was a final message from the management company confirming my lease release and zero outstanding balance. Attached was the move-out inspection with photos of the walls, appliances, floors, balcony, and keys. It was clean paperwork. I saved it in 3 places because that is who I am. Then I turned off the light, lay on a mattress on the floor, and listened to the old building settle around me. Somewhere outside, a car door shut. Someone laughed in the alley. The refrigerator clicked on and hummed like it had no opinion about me at all. For months, I had thought peace would arrive like relief, big and obvious. It did not. It came as a quiet room, a clean lease, and the first night in a long time where no one was trying to turn my life into a story I did not recognize. That was enough. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.